right, welcome back. After most of our summer is gone, we are back for another broadcast of the Scronco podcast. And of course, Coach Lane is with me. But before we get started, we just want to say hello to everyone and let you know our wrestlers and our wrestling families, we love you guys. We miss you. We know that we're not going to be back on the mat probably as soon as we want to be, but we will be back on the mat. We will get there. And this is just something that it sucks. But if we can all do what we're supposed to be doing, that gets us back onto campus sooner and out of distance learning. And that obviously gets us one step closer to being on the mat. But we did want to know that, want you guys to know that we love you. We miss you. We're thinking about you all the time and still talking about wrestling all the time. So
I miss everybody.
Coach Lane.
I was going to say, I miss everybody. And, I've been really motivated just seeing this as adversity, like a challenge opportunity for me to see how I respond, right, with all this, with the quarantine and coronavirus and getting out of my house and exercising and doing the right things. Like, I've been actually really motivated lately, going back and rereading a lot of stuff. I'm like, all right, let's do this. This is a cool opportunity for me. So I wanted to I'm not even going to introduce you guys. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves, but I want to thank you guys for being on the podcast with us. Just so everybody knows, we met these two guys online via Twitter who went through the same positive coaching program at Mizzou as Coach Smith and I did, and Coach Lee did as well. And we asked them to come on to Zoom and do a little podcast with us, and they agreed. So I'm really excited to have these guys on here, Greg Koenig and Matt Marcinek. Is that how you say it? Marcinek?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Matt, you want to start by introducing yourself? Just a little background and who you are and all that.
Absolutely. So my name is Matt Marcinek. I am a mental performance coach as well as a grappling coach in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Like The Office for all you Netflix fans. Just like The Office. I have a little bit of a unique story in that at 9 months old, I was diagnosed with cerebral palsy. I can't walk. But in addition to when I was diagnosed, in addition to not being told that I would never be able to walk, the neurologist also told my parents that I would never be able to do things like speak, hold a pencil, write, feed, or dress myself, basically any of life's daily functions. And what they told my parents is that maybe I would be better off to be put in a facility and to never look back. Thank God that my parents didn't agree.
Oh man.
Because I've been able to do a lot of cool stuff in my life. In addition to getting my master's in positive coaching, I'm also an Eagle Scout. I am a 4-stripe purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I am a brown belt in Judo. I went through a 10-year losing streak in both of those sports. I had a record of 0-80 until May of 2013 when I was finally able to win my first match. So I've been able to achieve a lot, and a lot of that has to do with my mindset, and that's all positive. That's how I got to the positive coaching route. Everything just kind of fell together. So here I am, and I'm looking forward to talking with you guys and learning a bit about your program and hopefully teaching you guys something too.
That is incredible. That's phenomenal. As soon as you started that, and like when they said the doctor told your parents, like they already like your life story, what you're going to be able to do, and then here you are, finished your master's degree. I mean, that's incredible.
Thank you.
Judo. I mean, you're coaching other people now, dude. That's inspiring. That's really inspiring.
Thank you very much.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Coach Koenig, do you want to introduce yourself too as well?
Yeah, thanks for making me follow Matt.
Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
It's really an honor to connect with other coaches who went through the program. Matt and I actually were going through the master's program at the exact same time
in class.
Because of that, and his story is obviously very inspirational. I started teaching and coaching in the public schools in 1990, so I've been at this a long time. I'm entering my 31st year.
Hey, we started in the same year.
All right.
We're
So
the old
we're both
dogs.
very young, right?
Yeah, exactly. I was 10.
Yeah. I've had opportunities to move around. I've coached at small schools in both Colorado and Kansas. I'm back in Colorado after 15 years in Kansas. Head football coach. I'm actually starting at a new school this fall.
Oh, wow.
Which in the middle of the whole pandemic, it was a real challenge trying to meet our athletes, get them to our summer workouts. It's been a real challenge, but the thing that I've noticed is all of the little things, that come with the positive coaching degree and that whole program. As Coach Lane said earlier, just the reminders about mindset and about how we need to embrace this adversity and grow through the whole process. And even after 30 years, I think that we as teachers and coaches still have that opportunity to grow and improve and never settle, for where we are. Even though I've been blessed with a lot of success, I have players playing at Division I football. We competed for a state championship. There's always room for improvement and growth. So this is really cool to connect with everyone here and to see what you guys are doing with the program, and hopefully, just have an opportunity to add a little bit to your philosophy and reach some of your athletes as well.
And I'll just add on to that as somebody else who went through the program, when they were later on in their career, that you're always learning. And I went in expecting to learn, definitely, as far as coaching and teaching was concerned. What I didn't expect was for it to be life-changing for me. It really has changed the way I look at things and the way I handle things, and given me tools to be a better coach and better teacher and a better friend, family member. So I think that's something we can always push to people, no matter how old or young they are, that you're always in growth mode. You never stop. There's always something to learn. There's always a way to grow as a person and in your career or with your family. So I'm glad you threw those words in there, because that's
and I like what Koenig said about never settle. I love that. Stay hungry, stay ambitious, always learn, always be willing to change, staying vulnerable, right, and having feedback. I'm just finishing a book by Jim Mattis right now, Call Sign Chaos, on leadership, and he talks about that, about never settling and always learning and always, never think that you know everything, and how dangerous that is to think that you're like the best and all that. So it's good stuff. It's good stuff.
Honestly, going through the program, I think it was humbling at times, because I had quite a bit of experience and a lot of positive experience as a coach. But it really forced me to look at, okay, just because you've had success doesn't mean that's the only way. What can you learn? How can you continue to grow?
I love that. And asking ourselves those questions regularly, right? And like guiding us on the daily. I love that. And for us, both of our programs, Dana and I, another guy that was with us in the program, I mean, we saw immediate huge gains in both of our programs just from all of this, right? And it's been really fun. It's been really cool. And I love this opportunity to reach out and talk to other coaches who went through it. Helps me stay fresh with all my ideas and to learn from you guys. And you guys are inspiring, motivating me. I'm like, all right, I want to get back to it, like, let's go, So this is fun. So you guys ready to start the interview? Start asking you guys some questions, and we'll just kind of go off of that. All right. So first question to Coach Koenig, just straight up general question. Why do you coach?
I coach because it's a great opportunity to invest in the lives of young people. I'm a head football coach and assistant track coach. That'll be my coaching assignments. But I'm also transitioning from 30 years of teaching high school English. The last 15 to 16 years, I've also had a role in the strength and conditioning and had a couple of classes there, but I'll be full-time strength and conditioning. So I just have all of these opportunities to invest in the lives of young people, to challenge them to be their best. I was really blessed with great teachers and coaches when I was young. So I see my opportunity as a teacher and a coach to give back, to make a positive impact, to help young people to become responsible and productive citizens. to be great parents when they get to that point in their lives, just to have that impact on young people, and to know that that's kind of, our life's mission as coaches. It's so much more rewarding than okay, we won that game against our league rival. That's a big deal, but it's nowhere near as big once you understand the why behind what we're doing. I share with our team all the time. Our job as coaches is to love our athletes, and their job as athletes is to love each other, to love their teammates. And when we understand that, the wins take care of themselves. The success takes care of itself. So my why is to really deeply invest myself through the relationships with my players, with all of the athletes that I have an opportunity to meet, and with my coaches as well, with my assistant coaches, with my colleagues. I think that can be easy to overlook. I think sometimes we know that we have to shape and mold the young people that we have the opportunity to interact with, but I think adults as well. It's what we've been talking about. There's always room for growth. So how can I invest in their lives as well?
I love that answer. That's fantastic. Took a lot of the words right out of my mouth. A lot of it is like the bigger picture, the grand scheme of things, right? Instead of doing win at all costs for that league championship or section championship, it's about teaching those life lessons, right? And building like the social and emotional character of your student athletes for long-term, well-being, right? Overall well-being for them, and using sport as a tool to do that, right? And
exactly.
Gosh,
I'm sorry, Garrett.
Go ahead.
I just think when you look at that and almost like planning backwards, of start off with your what do I want my legacy to be when I'm done with this? And if you think about that way, you're never going to say win-loss record, because that's not going to mean anything. When we're gone from this earth, that win-loss record isn't going to mean anything, but what we did with people will, for sure.
Well, and like
Matt, you want to? I'm sorry.
Like Koenig said, I know there's a little delay on the Zoom, so
I keep cutting you off.
Yeah, but I was going to say, like Coach Koenig said, if you take care of all those other things, the wins will take care of themselves. I remember that from the Coach Wooden book. He talked about that, how he never talked about winning or championships. He took care of all the other stuff first, and then the winning just takes care of itself, afterwards. And that's so true. That's so true. I love that.
Matt, you want to add to that?
Why do you coach?
Sure.
Why do you coach?
Sure. Why do I coach? Sure.
Yeah.
One, because believe it or not, I've actually had a couple of what I would consider to be bad coaches in my career, and bad in the fact that they kind of lost sight of my goals as an athlete. Like, believe it or not, having cerebral palsy, a lot of people think that that I was just in it, but I was in it to win. I am a relentless competitor. I hate losing more than anything on the face of the earth, and a lot of times I think that they lost sight of that, and they thought that I was there. I'll just say it, like, to make them money, because they were like, look at what I did for this kid in a wheelchair, right? Yeah. So for a large part of my grappling career, I did not have a quote-unquote coach. I had my best friend, and we traveled the country, and we went to different places, training and learning from the best coaches that we knew. We went up and down the East Coast, trying to get as good as we could. And, as I grew older, as I matured, kind of became my mission to never be the type of coach that let me down. So, and not contrarian to the positive coaching mindset or beliefs, but when people say that winning isn't important, I'm like, no, winning is important to me,
Right.
but we're going to do it in the correct manner.
Yep.
Right. And I'm going to take all of my athletes' goals to heart. I'm going to help them in the best way possible. And as a person who has faced a tremendous amount of adversity in his life, I'm going to help them embrace the adversity and give them ways to overcome it and not see it as sort of like a crippling event, but just like a bump in the road. So that's, and then that carries on with it. No matter how much we may win or lose, you're always going to carry that lesson with you around. So, it all kind of comes together and blends together, believe it or not, like seamlessly.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, well, this is going to be really hard to keep up with this pace of great answers all the way through this.
I know.
You guys just cut your own workout for you here. All right, Matt, you're going to be – I'm sorry, Garrett. I keep cutting you off.
No, I think I cut you off. Whatever. It's the Zoom delay thing.
All right. We'll settle this later, pal.
Yeah. I was going to say, as I love what you said about like how to deal with adversity, those coping skills, those stay with you for the rest of your life, right? And learning. Some of us get to learn at an early age, and some of us don't learn till a later age, or maybe a lot of people don't learn those skills at all. So when they face adversity, maybe they're in their 30s, they get fired or whatever, and they have this adversity or relationship or whatever, and they don't have those coping skills on how to respond to that adversity.
So it's kind of special that you guys are wrestling coaches, and obviously, with Coach Koenig, like we could take that from football, but there's something a little bit different with the combat sports, which is why I love them so much. In that, I say this all the time to the fighters that I work with and athletes that I work with. With combat sports, there's not really a sport where you just always kind of hope to get to baseline. Like highs are so fleeting, and the lows, you could stay in the lows all the time if you wanted to. Like most of the time you're just praying and stay in that middle baseline and level where you're like, okay. So like there's always some type of adversity or opponent, metaphorical opponent that you have to overcome.
Yeah.
And if you don't have those coping skills, you're dysfunctional, really.
Oh, you're done.
Yeah.
You're done. Like you're pretty well cooked, because nothing nothing really, like with team sports, like you have 11 other individuals that you could always like rely on, or even though this is a good thing, you could always place the blame on somebody. This person didn't make their block or whatever. Like combat sports, it's you, and you're out there, and you're out there bare for the whole world to see, and like there's nowhere to run or hide. So mental performance and and like that sort of like counseling, it's not only useful, it's pretty much necessary.
Right.
I agree.
All right.
I agree. 100%.
Matt, you get the next question first. You ready?
Sure. Gotcha.
So what impact has positive coaching had on your performance as a coach and the performance of your athletes?
Man, I mean, so my coming into the program, my story helped my impact in the positive coaching program, because I was able to relate a lot of my struggle into the things that we learned. Whether it was in intro to psych, or intro to positive psych and stuff like that.
Yep.
But also, having a guy like Dr. O, who I could just say, I could ask him like 1,000 questions, he wouldn't care. He'd answer every single one of them, and then give me tidbits and relate my story back to an athlete that he worked with. So now, So now when I'm working with an athlete, I remember, Dr. O told me about blah, 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 blah back in the day. And let me see if this works with this athlete.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times it does. And to be honest, so it's a little hard to, I'll be honest, mental performance, it's a little hard to get people to buy in right away, right? They don't know what it is. They think you're going to see a sports psychologist. They think that they're crazy. They think that they're weak-minded, stuff like that, like that. But this past year, I really had like my first fighter like fully buy in, trust. He's a training partner of mine, but he dealt with a little bit of adversity in his first couple fights, and I just went up to him at the gym and I was like, dude, I want to work with you. And he was like a little apprehensive. I'm like, you don't have to pay me any money. Don't worry about it. I just want to work with you. Right. And, took a little convincing, but I was like, I told him, I was like, I promise you, once we're done, I got you. You're going to be good. And in October, he won his first Muay Thai kickboxing amateur championship. Yeah.
Cool.
And that was like after one training camp.
Wow.
Going through, I think, 10 weeks with me, and the coolest thing that he said to me after he won his title was not that he performed better, not that he felt better. Like, he looked me in the face and he's like, my life is better having met you. And I was like, well, damn.
That's what it's all about right there.
Yeah, I'm like,
that's the
I'm
product,
like, well,
right?
damn, like we have a belt, and now I just made somebody's life better. So there's not much more that I could ask for, So
no, for sure.
Really happy with that.
That's it. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Greg, same thing to you. How's positive coaching impacted you as a coach in your athlete's performance?
I think just the relationship piece, when young people find out that you really do care about them, that it's not just words.
Yep.
I think that there's a deeper commitment level on their part. I think that there's more trust from them. So I went through the positive coaching program in 2016 and 17. And while I was finishing up, I actually transitioned from one school to another in Kansas, and just said, what a great opportunity for me to put into practice everything that we've been learning, right? So had been there for summer workouts for about a month, and I got a text from a player who had really been overlooked on the football team. He was going to be a junior, and great big kid, not in good shape, had always been kind of seen as soft and maybe even underachieving, and just things like that. And he sent me a text and he said, it's just so different for us to have a coach who loves all of us, not just the seniors. Holy cow. That was a big moment for me to understand that this stuff really does work, and that it was working. And so I was at that school for 2 years. We won district championship both years, won the playoff game for the first time in 20 or 25 years at that school. It works. So then my wife got a great opportunity. She was offered an incredible job in Colorado Springs, and I hated to leave because I had a great situation where I was in southwestern Kansas. But she had followed me around for my career for 15 years, so it was time for me to be a good teammate. And I think that goes into the program as well.
Yeah.
So it was really humbling for me because I applied for a job in Colorado Springs as a head football coach, and I didn't get the job. And with a lot of success that I had, that was pretty frustrating for me. But you learn how to deal with adversity, and what are you going to do about it? So I had to scramble and find a teaching job. And in the middle of the summer, in the middle of moving from Kansas to Colorado Springs, I was offered an English teaching position. And on the second day of school, one of the other English teachers, great big school, over 1,600 students. So one of the other English teachers walked into my classroom after school, and he was on the football staff as an assistant coach. And he said, "Hey, we heard that you have done some football coaching, and we need someone. Are you willing to give it a look? So went out and met the head coach, and had to really swallow my pride, because this was the exact same job that I had applied for.
Oh my gosh.
But I wanted to coach, that it's what you want out of this deal. So they were kind enough to let me come on. I was the assistant to the defensive backs coach, which after being a head coach for 20 years, again, had to really swallow my pride.
Yeah.
And I had to remind myself that it's not about me. It's never about me, and it's about what can I do for the program, what can I do for the kids. And so immediately I had to start building relationships with the players on the team, with the coaches on the team, and how can I take what I learned in our positive coaching, and even though I'm not the head coach, how can I make the program better through all of that? Now those coaches are like some of my best friends, and I was only with them for 1 year. And some of the players still contact me and talk about, just the impact that I was fortunate enough to have on them. So when a new job came open, an opportunity to transition out of English, so I'm not grading essays all the time, I probably could have stayed where I was and been pretty happy for a long time. But I believe that my calling is to be a head coach. And I was ready to get out of the English classroom. So when my new opportunity came up, I think those of us who went through the program, I think that we probably carry ourselves a little bit differently in a job interview. And I think that our answers carry so much weight. So the program has had an impact on me personally, but also I've had all sorts of success. Helped young people to achieve things, and that's where I am now, is a new opportunity to do that.
It's awesome.
Love it. I love it. I kind of similar, but I was a head coach for 4 years at my alma mater, the school I went to high school at, and we had pink slips, and I was pushed all around the district, and then I became an assistant coach at Bella Vista, and to a guy who had this massively huge, long-term successful program, and I'm the assistant coach and I have all these ideas and things, and I just had to, he's like, I just basically shut up for a little while and just swallow my pride a little bit, because I was building something over there. But he was awesome. He's the guy that went through the program with us, and he's naturally a positive coach, great mentor for me, and I learned a lot from him. And then when he stepped down, I took over. But it's just a different role, right? And at first, we didn't really have a lot of role clarity, because, but like you said, I got to know the athletes so well, built those relationships, their parents, the families, the school, as a teacher on campus. So we worked really well together, and I don't know, it's interesting. And then now being a head coach, I love it. It's great, and he's still helping with everything, But it's interesting to change those roles from head coach to assistant, and then head coach again, just learning. And it's good experience. It's all a good experience. So
and the kind of the central theme on all this is that idea again of just being vulnerable and being able to listen and learn, and what is my role and what do I do. So when Mike stepped down at Bella Vista, his son was an 8th grader for me last year. I coached all 3 of his kids, and since he didn't have anything to do, he was coming and helping in our room. He was there almost every day. And he knows more technique than I would ever hope to know in my life. And I think 10 years ago, if that would have happened, I would have had a hard time with that. Now, knowing how to know what your role is, you have an asset here, use it. And he'd be worried about stepping on a toe. It's like, no, you can stop practice anytime you want, teach whatever you want. You know what you're talking about. I trust you. I know you're not it's not about egos. It's not you trying to step in and do something. It's us working together to make the kids have a better experience.
Yeah, what's the bigger picture here, right? What's best for the kids, not what I'm the guy in charge or whatever,
Right.
So that's so good. I love those, you guys. This is really, I can't wait to go back and re-listen to this and take notes on everything.
All right, good, because now you're up to ask another question.
All right, Koenig, your turn. If you were going to talk to someone who is getting involved with coaching, first-year coach, and if you could give them any advice at all, and hopefully they would listen to you, but if you could give a new coach any advice at all, what would your advice be to anybody getting involved in coaching, or maybe a young person right now who's going to watch and they want to get involved in coaching, what advice would you give them? And maybe even for yourself, if you could go back in time and give yourself advice, something like that, right? So,
I think first of all, I would say that coaching is probably the most rewarding career that I can imagine. Many years ago, like 1997, 98, my wife was working full-time in a bank, and she was also serving as the cheerleading sponsor. And we had 3 children. I was head football coach, head basketball coach in this small school. And it was taking a huge toll on our relationship. So we gave up all extracurriculars. And I just taught for a year, and she just did the banking. And at the end of that year, she said, it's pretty clear you need to get back into coaching. So her uncle had been a head coach for over 30 years. And I called him up. I just have great respect for him. And I think that's part of the thing that I would tell people is you have to have some mentors. You have to have some people that you can turn to and bounce things off of. So I just called him up and I said, listen, I'm thinking about getting back into coaching, but I just don't know if this, what's your advice? And he said something that has stuck with me that I've never forgotten. He said, if you can be happy not coaching, don't coach.
Wow.
And it hit me right between the eyes, this is my calling. This is what I'm supposed to do. So that'd be the first thing, is that coaching is a calling, that it's not just a job, that there's so much more to it. Second thing I would say, it's not about you. It is about your athletes. It is about not even their success, but teaching them how to be responsible and productive members of society. That opportunity, we just can't overlook the responsibility that comes with that. I'm reminded so frequently of things, and when I was listening to Matt speak earlier, he talked about how positive coaching can almost be a misleading term. And I remember being shocked in one of Dr. O's classes. I don't remember exactly which one it was, but I remember writing down 3 bullet points. And the first one was, it is unacceptable to lose. Because again, I was thinking, okay, positive coaching, but I've never forgotten that. And it doesn't mean that we berate kids who lose, or, that we throw our hat or whatever the case is. But until we have that mindset, we don't get everything out of ourselves and the athletes that we're coaching. So that should be a built-in mindset for all of us, that it is unacceptable to lose. But there's a certain way to go about teaching that. And that leads me into the second bullet point that I remember from that class. It was that it is unacceptable to give anything less than a perfect effort. And if you start to put those 2 things together, then we can get kids to push, to reach their maximum potential. A couple of years ago, we got a new athletic director when I was the head football coach, and he gathered all the head coaches in the building. And the very first thing he said in the meeting was, you will be evaluated on your ability to get your team or your athletes to outperform their potential. And for the first 30 seconds, I thought, well, that's not fair. What are you asking from us? And then I thought, that's exactly what you should be asking from us. So I think that's a piece of advice for young coaches, that success, and this is a John Wooden thing, is a peace of mind that results from knowing that we did our best to become the best we can become. And sometimes potential is a really negative thing, because potential, I have a coaching friend who used to tell our athletes all the time, potential is ability at rest. So we say, okay, this kid has great potential, but it's meaningless until we get them at least to that potential. But the most rewarding experiences that I've had as a coach are when kids have outperformed their potential, whether it be individually or collectively as a team. I guess, I would wrap that up then with, if I were sitting down face to face with a coaching candidate, a young person who's considering this career path. Again, it's the most thing that you'll ever do.
Yep.
But you have to do it the right way. I would remind them again, it's not about you. It will always be about your kids. And when you learn that it is relationally based, when you truly pour yourself into kids, they will do amazing things for you. And one of the things that I was really humbled in going through all the courses was, even if a kid gives up, I can't give up on that child. It took me way beyond just coaching, and it's made me a better teacher. It's made me a better parent and a better grandparent, a better husband. So I would encourage any coach to really look at, even if it's not this program, inside out coaching, 3D coaching, similar programs, and make sure that you're in it for the right reason. The why, it always has to be at the front of our mind. And just, if we can do that, then we're going to serve young people the best way possible.
You just maybe this thought popped into my head as we use that word positive, and understanding if we're looking like, why are we doing it? And could you be happy not doing this? Or is it about you? That it can be very positive and it can be life-changing for our athletes, our kids, but we can do just as much damage.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
If we're transactional and not relational, the damage that's done is a lifetime of damage to kids. I can say really I only had one really negative experience with a coach growing up, but it sticks with me. That moment sticks with me as a coach. Like, I'll never treat anybody like that. I will never act that way with somebody, because if that's all the time, think of all the damage you're doing over that amount of time. So anyway, I cut in there, but I had to get that thought out before it went.
Yeah, when I was in school, had a very negative experience with a coach who, was abusive, and so it is a good reminder for why I do the things that I do and the way that I do them.
Same thing with me. I had a coach who I vowed to never act like that or talk to my athletes like that ever. So I learned what not to do, right? And then I had other coaches who taught me some of the things to do, right? And then kind of molded and shaped me. And I did catch myself early in my career. And one of the things that this program at Mizzou changed with me was I noticed that I was kind of replicating and teaching in the ways in which I was coached myself. And there's so many little things that I was doing that I thought were right just because that's how I was coached.
That's all you knew.
It was just normal, right? That's what I did. And that, kind of like checked myself and was vulnerable and was willing to change and listen. And I was like admitted, a lot of stuff and accepted it and learned and grew and got changed. And I don't do a lot of things that I used to do early in my career with like talking with kids or maybe like teasing them or whatever it is, and just a lot of little things. I don't do those anymore. Because I understand. And someone on here, I can't remember which guy was talking about it, but building those relationships with every single athlete, and you care about every single athlete, regardless if they're the starter or the backup or the first year person in your program, and getting to know them, because you never know if that's the opportunity or if that's for me, like I never know if every conversation I have with any kid, I never know if that's the opportunity or the moment that I'm going to motivate them or change them, right? That could be it. I don't know. That could be it. In their mind, that could be the opportunity. So respecting every moment and opportunity I have with a kid, with an athlete, to try and help him or her, because I coach girls as well. And you just never know. And then, we've had starters get hurt, and then so the next kid steps up, right? And if I hadn't cared and nurtured that child ever, and I ignored them, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, hey, what's up, Koenig? Like, hey, like, you're the man, you know what I mean? Like, hey, like what? Like all of a sudden I treat them differently, treat everybody the same and with respect, regardless of like if they're the star or not the star, right? Or if they're learning or not. So that's good stuff. I'm just speaking my mind about what you guys were kind of made me think about it. But it's good stuff, you guys. I'm loving this so far. This is great. Matt,
what would your advice be to a young coach?
Yeah. So I think if I was going to speak to a young coach just starting out or just wanting to build a program, the first thing that I would say is, it's common, like we've said it on this podcast so far, like, I coach fighters, you guys coach wrestlers, Coach Conan coaches football players, but we really don't. We coach people.
Yep.
Right?
I love it.
Right. We coach people, right? And who just happen to play those sports, right? And the best thing that a coach can do is get to know your athletes as individuals, right?
Yep.
And what their drives are, and what their motivations are, and how how they learn, and how they are motivated, and how they are, are they intrinsically motivated? Are they extrinsically motivated? And there's nothing wrong with either of them. Right? Like maybe they want 5 minutes less, or 10 minutes less of conditioning if something else goes correctly. There's nothing wrong with doing it every once in a while if for a half hour or whatever they're going to give their absolute best. So if that means they give their absolute best and you cut practice by 5 minutes, who cares? Yeah. Right? Like at the end of the day, you've reached someone in the best way possible, and that's what our job is, to make that impact on someone. So later on in their life, when they're business people, when they have to go to an office, when they have to have families, like they say, oh, this is this is remarkably similar to how of what happened when Coach Matt was coaching me, or that they could raise their kids, with some of the lessons that we taught them, and then we create that ripple effect.
Yep.
Right? And once that ripple effect happens, that's how, not to go all Gandhi on you guys, but that's how the world changes for the better, right? Like,
I agree.
Everybody always talks about, especially today, how bad things are in the world. Well, it all starts with one better interaction with somebody.
Yep.
Right? One better interaction starts to change the world. And then, once we get that snowball rolling, right, there's no stopping it, right? But that all starts with learning that, our athletes are people, right? And they are not just means to an end, right? Going back to that young man that I coach, if you go, there's a testimonial on my website, and one of the things that he says is that Matt legitimately cares for me as a person and as a friend, right? That's a big deal for me, right? That's a big deal for me, because yes, I want the title. I want the championship belt. Right? I make no bones saying that one day I want to be known as one of the best coaches in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But I want it to be done in a way that not only did I have success, in the win column, like Coach said, when Dr. O said, that winning is vitally important, or whatever that phrase was, I can't remember verbatim, but I was once I got that first interaction with Dr. O, I was I'm home, baby. This guy gets it. Winning is important, and you have to be a good person. Sign me up. But it's not. But it's not until. But the good person piece has to come before the winning piece.
Yep.
Or be built in tandem with that.
Yep.
Right? I want you to win because I care about you, because I know what winning can do for you. Right? The lessons learned, what fighting through that adversity, and doing things that other people aren't willing to do. What that will teach you in life. It's not about the trophy. Yeah. It's not about all of that stuff. But it's what this journey of winning a state title, winning a world title, all that stuff. It's what it will do for you in the future, right? And if I allow you to quit, you're going to quit on everything else in the rest of your life, right? So
I agree. Yep.
Getting to know those people as people and pushing the right buttons, right? To be able to overcome those self-limiting beliefs, right? Of achieving more than they ever thought they would. That's the thing that's going to change your life. It's not it's like going through that process of setting a goal and achieving it. Like, we have the ability to do something that like only a small percentage of people on this earth who aren't coaches will ever do with somebody else. Nobody else besides coaches really teaches you about goal setting and goal attainment.
How to do it. How by doing what?
And how to do it and how to maximize your potential.
Yeah.
So get to know your athletes, get to know them as people, get to know their life situations. Once you know their life situations, that's where the winning and the process starts to develop and to, really, you start to get the fruit. The fruit of the labor comes from the harvest of getting to know your athlete.
Right.
I agree. And what a great opportunity that we have as coaches to create that positive ripple effect, right?
Oh my
what
God.
A great opportunity that we have. I mean, and if we don't take advantage of that opportunity, then what are we doing, right? Why are we doing it?
Seriously,
right?
like not to go on a on a tangent or a tirade, but like I just know from being in my gym every day and training, with my training partners, like, man, I look around and there's Caucasian people, there's black people, there's Muslim, there's Christian, like, and for that hour or however long it is, nobody cares. Nobody cares.
Yep.
Nobody cares. It's just people working towards the goal.
Yep.
Right. Like, and that is the most impactful thing in life, right? And it's the most unique thing, because the minute that we leave our training facility or with coach, like once they leave the field, like, then life happens to them, right? Then life happens to them. But it's the bond that's built on the surface where they have other people that are like, who cares? Who cares? I know you. I know your heart. I know what you're about, right? And we don't get that in an office. We don't get that in a workplace, right? Like in a work environment, like, not to be ultra negative, but like a lot of times you feel like a drone, right? You just show up and you do your job and then you leave and you get up and you do it all over again, right? There's not that collaborative effort of making things better. But as coaches, we see that every day because we need our teammates, we need our training partners to get better. It's one person sacrificing for another, right? Selfishly, right? That doesn't happen anywhere else in life besides athletics.
Right. Absolutely.
Unique opportunity. Unique. All right. Is this no, we have 2 questions left, right?
Yeah.
2?
We're going back to back on you again, Matt. You
Cool.
ready?
I'm ready.
Who is your best role model or inspiration in your life, and why?
Oh man.
Hard one, huh?
To be honest, like, it's tough because like, I've kind of gotten to the point where I don't look for other people, like, for inspiration. Like, a lot of times I look for, like, guidance or, like, just a little bit of a hand up. But and sometimes I feel like mentors are seasonal, right? Like, they come into your life when you need them, and then they're not always there all the time. But Dr. O is certainly one of those people, right?
All heads are nodding right now, just so people listening know.
Sure.
Right.
Gosh, Dr. Orr was phenomenal.
Right. Who has made a tremendous impact on me.
Yep.
But honestly, like, one guy that I always point to, and I guess you could say that, he's an inspiration, if you want to use that term. But there is a wrestling and judo coach in Rhode Island. His name is Serge Boyso. And his athletes are top level athletes in both wrestling and judo. They win state titles all the time. He's got some Olympic hopefuls, and they train hard. They train hard, and there's a big time work ethic and output from them. But Serge is also the type of guy, like, he has legitimately adopted a lot of his athletes. Like, they are his kids. Like, officially his kids. They carry...
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, they carry his last name, because what he's done is he takes a lot of these kids that are at risk youth, and from the time they are very young, he works with them, he molds them, and he's just such a giving, kind-hearted, big-hearted individual. But at the same time, like, he is a taskmaster when it comes to coaching. And he is, very much like Dr. Orr in the fact that it shows that you can be a relentless coach. You can demand a lot of your people. Like, you can demand a lot of your athletes, as long as in the end you show them that you care for them. Like, as long as that title isn't the means to an end. Like, as long as when you get off the mat or off the field or off the playing surface, the court, as long as you show, like, even if the results didn't go your way, you're still my guy. You're still my girl.
Yeah, I agree.
That you care. Like, and there's kind of like what we were saying before the podcast started. Like with Dr. Orr, like, it's okay to demand a lot from people. Like, he demanded a lot out of all of us, right? But I remember I told you guys, like, I told you guys that I did the positive coaching masters in a year. So I think I was at like 12 or 15 credits a semester or something like that.
That's what Dana and I did it in 3 semesters.
Yeah, right. And in the middle of that, my step grandfather passed away.
Oh.
Yeah, and I was burnt. At the end of I think, like, my second to last semester, the fall semester, I was burnt, and, like, I had to go to Dr. O, obviously through email, because I'm in Pennsylvania and he's in Missouri, and but I was like, I'm like, Dr. O, and he had known everything that was going on beforehand because we had that type of relationship, but I was like, man, I'm burnt out, right? And I'm like, I'm feeling it. And, he said to me, he was like, I'm burnt out too. He's like, I bit off a little more than I could chew this semester, because he was doing, like, a ton of stuff. And Coach remembers Coach Conan. Like, he had started doing, like, fundraising for different things for the positive coaching program. And, like, he was trying to get grants, I think, and all that stuff. And he's like, dude, I'm burnt out too. And, like, he threw, like, a virtual arm around me, and he was like, listen, he's like, you're good. You know what you're doing. He's like, just get through it. He's like, your work is exceptional. Like, and it's not going to get any less exceptional just because you're going through hard stuff. But the cool thing for me was that for most of it, like, while I looked at Dr. O as this, like, tough guy, like, drill sergeant type of dude, like, there was that moment for us, like, where he let his guard down, and he was like, listen, he's like, it's not always real easy for me either. Like, I don't want to pretend that I'm something that I'm not. And once he said that, once he reiterated and it's tough for him, I'm like, well, if it's tough for the guy teaching the class, like, obviously it's going to be tough for me, right? So, I mean, I think like those, I think Serge and Dr. O are like two of the guys that I really look up to because, like I said, you could be as tough as you want, but you still gotta show people that you're vulnerable. You still gotta show people that you care. You still gotta show people that you're human. I think a lot of times we as coaches, like we wanna always pretend that we walk around with our capes on and that nothing can bother us, right? Honestly, like one of the biggest blessings of my disability, and my disability is a blessing, is that I lost for 10 years, right? I was a competitive athlete and I lost for 10 years. And in the gym, I lose a lot, I get beat a lot, but my students are able to see that I get beat, right? They're able to see, so I can't hide behind some accomplishment or some title or, some made up past that I might have where I'm like, I'm this infallible person, right? I'm not infallible. I'm incredibly fallible. I'm incredibly fallible. And I get upset when I lose. And they have to watch me deal with these emotions, in real time. And then I could say, I know where you are. I understand where you are because I'm there every day. I'm there every day. I'm just there for a different reason because, a large majority of my body doesn't work. But like I still understand the frustration and the pain that you're feeling just in a different way. But let's get through this,
Yeah.
Long-winded answer, but yeah.
Hey, real quick, I'll keep this super short, but similar thing. In our first semester, we were taking 3 classes. And by the way, I was thinking we did it in 4 semesters, right? Not 3. But Dana,
right.
I think.
Yeah.
Anyways,
yeah. I was gonna say 3 semesters.
Yeah, the last semester we only took the 1 class, so it felt like it.
Yeah, that's what I did. Yeah.
But anyways, on our first semester we had 1 or 2 classes with Dr. Orr. I can't remember, but
we had 1, but it was crushing.
Construction models anyways.
Construction models, yeah.
My wife got diagnosed with cancer, and I with leukemia out of the blue. We basically had to leave home for like 6 months. She had to go to Stanford. We had to get an apartment. She had to get a bone marrow transplant. It was insane. 2 young kids at home. And I remember I emailed Dr. Orr from the hospital. I was like, hey, this is what just happened. I told my wife I was going to drop out of the program, and she told me to suck it up.
Yeah.
So I almost cussed. But I was like, I can't just drop out now. And then, but his empathy and how he worked with me, and how he spoke to me. I'm not going to repeat what he said because it's probably inappropriate. But but his empathy, and he reached out to my other professors at the time for me, and it was phenomenal. And even after the semester ended, he had me skip a construction model. He emailed me like during this little window because he was still asking me how she was doing and everything and updating him. And I truly didn't think it was fake. I know that it was true. Like he truly didn't care. It wasn't fake at all. But he's like, hey, you never turned in that construction model. I really want you to turn it in now. Right. And this was like around Christmas time, and it was like the semester's over and all this stuff. And he's like, yeah, just turn it in to me by like Saturday or something, whatever it was. I was like, man, that was on break. So I sent it to him, and he replied like he did with highlighting my things and responding, and he wrote paragraphs, and it was just that he truly did care about me, and he was phenomenal, you know what I mean? And so similar to like you, and just working with me, and it really helped me understand about working with my athletes if they're going through stuff, just working with them, right? Like my students, well, like I have a ton of students who I do that for them now. Like if they're going through stuff at home, I'm working with them like, hey, don't turn it in, don't worry about it. We'll just get to that later. Let's focus on like.
Yeah, and like the other thing with that is too, like you can learn, and what I've learned is too, it's not always about letting somebody off the hook, right? like it's still demand. It's still
He's so demanding.
Yeah, it's still demanding, and it's still expecting stuff from them, but maybe not in the time frame that you needed it.
And I don't think he knows better. I don't think he knows better. We saw a podcast he was on and listened to it, and he said he has a fear of mediocrity, right? That's like his biggest fear in life.
He's got that he's got that quote tattooed on his side, and it was like oh man, something like fear of mediocrity is a pyron that invades like your whole body or something. I have to go back. I have it saved somewhere. But he's like, hey, he's like, I got that tattooed on my ribs, and I'm like, of course you do.
Yeah, of course.
You have that tattooed on your ribs.
Sorry, I just got excited because he was such a positive influence on all of us. I'm sure we all could go on, and it was just a similar story. But
100%. But you know, just knowing that your athletes are people.
Yep.
And taking the time to acknowledge that, you know, sometimes life happens to them.
Yep. By the way, my wife is good. She beat cancer. I don't know if you saw her walking.
Fantastic, man.
You saw her walking in a little earlier, but
fantastic.
She's kicking butt right now. So I didn't want to leave you guys hanging.
No.
Afraid to
find out next episode what happened. Greg, do you have a inspiration, role model?
Maybe growing up.
I could go on and on. When I was a young coach, I read everything I could get my hands on from John Wooden. So he's been very inspirational for me, and really, you know, when you're a young coach, you could do a whole lot worse than to get your hands on anything that Coach Wooden wrote.
Absolutely.
Currently, I spend a lot of time. I don't know if you've heard of Focus3.com. Tim Kite and Brian Kite, they have pretty strong social media presence. They were behind Urban Meyer turning around Ohio State when he first got there. He brought them in, and just their whole mindset, E+R=O, any event plus your response equals the outcome. So I get daily devotional from Tim Kite, the father. He does a spiritual devotional through the Bible, very, very solid biblical teaching. And then Brian Kite is all about discipline. Right now, his whole theme is discipline is the shortcut, do the work. So, man, anyone who's looking for, you know, anything in the spiritual realm or anything in the discipline motivational realm, look into Focus3.com, look into Brian Kite, Tim Kite. Those guys are amazing. And if you're willing to just take it in and apply it and quit making excuses, and, you know, don't feel sorry for yourself, realize that the world's tough for everyone. They're very valuable. So I could go on and on. I've had so many people when Matt was talking about the ripple effect. My football mentor, the guy who has taught me everything I know about the offense that we run, is Coach Hugh Wyatt, CoachWyatt.com. But it's not just football. He has taught me how to be a good coach in so many different ways, and his ripple effect is absolutely amazing. I tell him that fairly frequently. I'm just amazed by the fraternity of coaching brothers that he has created, and I have so many relationships just because of his influence in my coaching career. So again, I could go on and on, but those are some very important ones for me.
You know, the idea of a fraternity of coaches, or even a sorority, I guess. One of the things I think I love about our program more than anything, or it's in the top 3 at least, and this is about Mike Lee, he built a community. If you look at Garrett's coaching staff, most of those coaches, either their kids went through our program or they went through our program, and they come back to us and want to coach in our program. My assistant coach was my captain when he was in 8th grade. And seriously,
I coached him too.
Yeah. And he probably makes more, I'm sure he makes more money than I do.
Oh, for sure he does.
You know, he's in his mid-20s. He's got his real estate license, but he comes back because he loves working with the program, working with the kids. And if we've had that ripple effect on people that want to come back and do that, you know, it's about adults and kids. It's a community, and it's that difference that you can make in a community overall. That's so rewarding. It's our best kept secret that's hard to get people to understand, but that's
and it's one way you can measure it. It's one way to measure it, right? What you're doing when you see that alumni that return, that support, those relationships. And Dana and I do a fundraiser together, one a year, and we just ask for all the alumni and families to come help. And we see parents, I mean, who haven't had kids in our program for decades, pretty much. And gosh, they dedicate hours and hours and hours to help us with our fundraiser. Still, those kids come back. I mean, it's really cool just to see that community come together. And I mean, we have 5 high schools within like 4 miles of us. And I mean, in our school, I have 2,100 kids at my high school. I mean, so there's a lot of kids, and it's like our school is I feel like we're the only one of the ones that have that community anywhere remotely close to where we're at. It's just a really cool experience. And Mike Lee is the one that built that up at Bella Vista. And, you know, I feel honored to be able to continue that and be a part of it at all. So.
And if you continue that ripple effect off of Mike Lee and Charlie Lee was a coach at Bella Vista when I went to Bella Vista too, and they're not related, but Mike was coached under him and learned from him. And he kind of, when he came back and took over that job later on after a few other people had destroyed the program or let it dwindle, I guess I would say. Back to generations when we were in high school, it still had that ripple effect on us to build some things back up.
Yep.
All right, Garrett, you got the last and most difficult question. This is the one we ask every time we do this, every time we interview.
So Dana and I love hot wings so much, and so does he, and I'm very critical. So I want to know best hot wings you guys have ever had. Whoever wants to go first. Or your favorite hot wings.
It's actually pretty easy. My wife makes the best.
Easy as this.
I'm not kidding. My wife takes great care of my coaching staff. So on Saturdays when we get together and we're building our game plan and everything, she will feed us. And the coaching staff would just beg, could you have her make those wings?
I'm on my way to Colorado right now.
Absolutely incredible. So, yeah.
Nice.
Matt?
Oh man, there's actually a lot of good places, but there's a place in like a couple miles down the road from me. It's called Smiler's Bar and Grill, and they actually, I don't even know if you guys would know this, but it's big in the Northeast. Do you guys know what porchetta is?
No.
Ever heard of porchetta? It's just a way of seasoning pork.
Oh.
But they do porchetta hot wings, which are really, really good. Yeah, I would have to say Smilers has some really good wings. I'm a big fan, but I'm a big fan of wings in general. So
Me too. I'm so bad because I'll go to a place. My wife always tells me not to order them anymore because if I'll like get so disappointed and sad if they're not good.
I actually don't know if there's a wing that I dislike though, to be honest.
Yeah.
There are some that are like, it just makes
of like.
it hurts my heart, you know what I mean? Because I was looking for anyway, but yeah, I love wings.
Definitely.
So.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. I actually brought this idea up to Garrett about a month ago when I was sitting watching some fights and on Twitter, and I texted him and said, hey, what would you think about us getting some people from the program together and doing a podcast with them? And he's like, love it. So we started working on it and putting it together. So I really appreciate you guys spending time with us and giving your information and your beliefs to our kids and our families, because they're just rock solid.
Thank you guys so much.
All about. We appreciate it.
I would love to hook up with you guys again on this sometime in the future and with some more questions, and you guys could ask us questions too.
Yeah, guys.
And if you guys are ever in NorCal, the better half of California, by the way, reach out to us. You'll have a free place to stay, all that. You know what I mean? So anything at all. So this has been really fun.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's been great, really guys. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for opening up and sharing. And I feel like we could do this for hours and hours.
Oh,
probably. Yeah, probably.
Forever.
And it's so cool to hear from other coaches, especially other disciplines, but they're all similar, you know what I mean? And they have such similar experiences and thoughts. And it's just really cool to have us kind of reconnect, a little alumni get together type of thing. So thank you guys very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Really MIZ.
ZOU. Hey, take it easy, you guys. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you.
Take care, guys. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Take care.